the 1998 film Ringu, and this one is directed by, I forgot because I just fucking can't remember. Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be talking about Japanese horror. So we're jumping from Germany to Japan. I know it's a big jump, but today I want to talk about the 1998 film Ringu, otherwise known as Ring in America, but it is directed by Hideo Nakata, and it is starring Nanako, Matsushima, and Hiroyuki Sanada. I got it. There we go. This reporter and her ex-husband investigate this cursed video that is rumored to kill the viewer 7 days after watching it. Obviously, a lot of people know this movie just because of the American remake that it got by Gore Verbinski, and that movie is very creepy. It's hard because I watched the American version before I saw this version, and it's hard not to play the comparison game, but right off the bat, this movie is so much more subtle in its horror techniques. There's virtually no jump scares in this movie, which was very refreshing to see. In America in general, in modern horror films, you see jump scare galore just everywhere. And I don't know, it's got to be just the cultural difference between America and Japan with the audiences. Maybe in America we just need things to just jump out and just scare the shit out of you like all the time. But in Japan, this seems a lot more psychological. There's virtually no music in this movie. In this version, it's less about the scares and more about the anticipation for the scares. I will say also that I feel like the characterization in this movie just wasn't as strong. What the goal of this film is to create this atmosphere that Hideo Nakata does so well. There's so many parallels in it, but I feel like this one is going to haunt you on a more subliminal level. Everybody knows the story of The Ring. You know, it's about this girl that kind of creeps out of this well and then she goes to the TV screen. It's just more of a mystery here. I wish I saw the Japanese version of this movie before I saw the American remake, because I feel like this one is just a better piece of filmmaking. Ringu obviously sparked the whole J-horror phase that went on in America, especially after this movie came out, and then, you know, we got the remake of The Ring, and then we got The Grudge, and then we got a couple other movies. I had to talk about this movie because it was a transitional period in horror, it felt like, especially with America kind of taking inspiration, you could say, or borrowing different aspects of different cultures around the world to add to our horror genre. Japanese horror just gets it, you know, they just understand what makes things terrifying and not just doing jump scare galore everywhere like they do in America like this. Boo! Sorry, I have no idea what that was, but the video in this movie too is very creepy, and obviously like in the American version they took aspects of it, like the woman brushing her hair in the mirror, very creepy. You could tell that the imagery, the creepy imagery that was in this movie, America just basically ripped it off, and they're like, we need to make art things creepy like that, you know. Japan knows what they're doing, we gotta step our game up. I feel like in the early 2000s, horror in America was kind of on a decline. It just wasn't very good, and it was very popular to do remakes of classics that we'd seen and not do them very well. And I feel like we see that every couple of decades. The horror genre gets kind of revitalized and we see something that we hadn't seen before. Because don't get me wrong, I love seeing like a lot of the same like tropes, because that's what makes a horror movie, but I think every once in a while we need a shot of something new to kind of keep the genre feeling new and interesting. Ringu, I will say, if I had to kind of give it a criticism, the main character, the main reporter, she doesn't really have a strong character in my opinion. I really like the ex-husband, and I'm gonna butcher his name again, so I'm not gonna attempt to say it, but he's in a lot of movies, especially a lot of American movies as well, and I really like what they did with his character and what eventually happens later on in the movie. This movie is gonna have slow anticipation and build and build and build until the very end of the movie. It's very quick, hour and a half, so If you're not very familiar with J-horror, this is a great introduction to it, especially since it's so familiar to American audiences already. I highly recommend it. Go see it or stream it. You could stream it for free on Tubi. That's kind of what I did. Shh, don't tell anybody. I'm gonna give the movie 4 out of 5 stars. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode of 31 Days of Horror.